Okay, so I was asked the other day, how are we parenting Elliot and preparing her just for, like, how is she like, so what was the question? It was like, how is she so on fire for Jesus? Like, how have we taught her to be like that? So I want to do an episode on parenting. I want to talk a little bit about gentle parenting because I think it's deeply unbiblical.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some strong views about it. And I just want to talk about like how we are raising Elliot, the things that we're doing. You helped me write a post. I haven't posted it yet, but I will in connection with this episode of just like things that we do that I think are a little bit different than like the way that some people parent the world. I feel like parenting kids biblically is vastly different than like parenting the world and like how kids are being parented in
Mm.
in America maybe or like Western culture,
Mm-hmm.
that I think is very damaging to children, and their relationship with God.
Mm. Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about ideas or topics for our podcasts. Was it yesterday on
Yeah,
our
I think
walk?
so. We walk a lot.
It's where a lot of stuff comes through on the
hmm
walks.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is. Just being outside, the body's moving.
I feel like for me, yeah, like I have to move. There's some also like working out, moving, just there's something to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like intimacy, like in the bedroom. I feel like if you're disconnected and you're intimate, and you take that time, it's like it bridges something. I feel
Yeah.
there's something about like the body and moving and just like being together and it
Yeah.
breaks it up,
There you
you
go.
know?
But yeah, you brought this up um as a topic to talk about, and here we are. And when you mentioned it yesterday, I wish I had some deep, you know, intellectual way of saying it. But the first thing that came to my mind when you brought that up yesterday is just it's so simple,
hmm
and it's really just leading by example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like your kids, especially when they're young, I feel like they're just going to emulate what they see,
Yeah.
especially from their parents,
hmm
and yeah, at least for me, I wish there was some like, I mean, we can unpack this a little bit too, but I wish there was some like deep reason that I could,
You've always been like this,
you know,
though. Like, you've always viewed parenting as simple. When I was pregnant with Elliot, you would not let me read parenting books. You were like, it was a hard no for you. I've never read a parenting book. I think I was super blessed because I nannied for so long, and nannying in Denver gave me a vantage point that I don't think a lot of women or men are able to see,
hmm
where I got to see different parenting styles and how they impacted children,
mm,
and both positively and negatively. I mean, I have been in homes where like my jaw was to the floor with how kids acted.
yeah,
Now, being a mother, like if I ever heard Elliot speak to someone else the way that I was spoken to as a nanny and
oh
treated,
yeah,
it would just be a hard no. I think it's because of like that very like gentle, woke type of parenting where it's like your feelings are the most important thing in the room, and I'm always going to validate you. And like you're almost like you're walking on eggshells around your children.
yeah, that's crazy.
Um, and when I was pregnant with Elliot, like you literally were, I remember you said it, you're like, don't read, like, I think I had one pregnancy book I read, and then I had a vaccine book I read. And that was really it. Like, I didn't go super deep into reading about birth, I didn't study birth. I just had like this mindset of like, my body's going to know what to do. I trust my body. At the time, I wish I would have had like I trust God, but I trust in my body. I had a come to Jesus moment in birth,
hmm
and that was when Elliot came through. But you were like so stern with us of like, we're not going to read a bunch of parenting books. It's going to come natural. We'll know exactly what to do. It's God's way. Like, we know how to be parents.
Yeah.
And yeah, you've always made parenting so simple. I think I've complicated it sometimes, and I tried to gentle parent when she was younger. And then around 1.5, 2, I think I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, if we continue like this, we're going to raise a brat. And
Mm.
eventually she's going to have to be a citizen of the world. And
Hmm.
she's going to have to realize that the world does not revolve around her. And I feel like a lot of parenting styles are, this is going to like really trigger a lot of people. I feel like a lot of parenting styles make the world revolve around the children.
Well, I don't know the last time whoever's watching this, I don't know the last time you've been out in public and gone to a restaurant or customer service, any customer service appointed position or retail position, and you see some of these younger kids, and it's not like a slight at every kid that's out there, because I feel like it's a nuanced conversation too,
Yeah,
right? It's like
yeah,
when we were in our early 20s, it was like we had to deal with it. Oh, your guys' generation, the
yeah.
millennials. Um, for the record, some of us millennials did get the tail end of like that prior generation, or from work ethic to interpersonal skills, not being so self-absorbed and not having a work ethic and things like that. Some of us did catch the tail end of that, for the record, I would like to add. Um, but yeah, it's like you go out to a restaurant or any of the places that I just mentioned, the stores, whatever, and you see, and it's not every young person that's out there, but my gosh, it's like it makes you wonder. It makes you
Hmm.
wonder,
Yeah.
and I feel like you're kind of doing your child a disservice by bringing them up that way, because let's be honest, the world does not operate like that. And I would assume there's something to that, right? It's like some
Hmm.
of these kids that they're bringing their parents with them to job interviews,
Oh my
or
goodness.
it's
There's
just
no emotional resiliency.
right.
It's like what's so wrong with the world right now is like we're not teaching kids emotional resiliency.
Yeah.
And listen, I'll caveat this. I do believe because when I recorded my last episode of Holy Honey, that was like a huge split because I said this: your truth is not ultimate truth. And we have to teach that for our children. Your trauma does not get to dictate the way that you operate in the world. And your feelings, although valid, are fleeting. They
Mm,
are not like guideposts. God is your guide. The ultimate truth is the word of God. And, you're, that's just it. And so I'm going to read this because I do want this to be biblically backed. So I have some Bible verses. This one is Proverbs chapter 22. Where is it? Verse 6, it says, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it.
mm,
If we're training up our children and we're telling them that their feelings are the most important thing, we're not training up our children to be resilient in a world that is hard, in a world that God is asking us to put on a spiritual armor. We're not training our kids to be of the word of God or be like Christ.
mm,
If Jesus, every time he had his feelings hurt, or he was mocked or ridiculed or abandoned or betrayed, if he would have like sat with his feelings and just like been so in it, like he would not have been a man of God. Like he would not have had the resiliency to go up on the cross and die for our sins.
mm,
And we're essentially training up our kids to be like Christ.
mm,
That's our responsibility as parents,
mm.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think there's a lot of truth in that. Um, and the original topic was how how we implement these kind of things. Like, how is it that our daughter is so into her religion and so into Jesus, and right? That's
Yeah.
that's the original
Like how are
discussion.
we raising her? Like
Yeah.
how, and I think even deeper is like how has it changed since we've come to Jesus?
What's crazy? I think in a lot of ways, the kids are so curious about life by nature,
Mhm.
and I feel like you can go in either direction with that, right? You can put the wrong things in front of them, and they're curious about they're curious about everything, right? So it's like if you have the wrong things in front of your children, and they're like sponges too, they're just going to absorb everything.
Mhm.
For her, I think in a lot of ways, sometimes she's more curious about religion and about faith and some of the things that probably a 7-year old, like most 7-year olds, like really aren't thinking about,
Mhm.
but sometimes when it comes to her faith and like Jesus and God, it's like some of the questions she asks, it's almost like she is more curious than we are.
Mm.
You ever notice that?
Yeah.
um and yeah, I mean, like I said, I think a lot of it is just leading by example. In the past couple years, we've chosen to make that our foundation in the
Mhm.
household,
Yeah.
and we operate from that space as a family and as a household. She doesn't really ever see us steer away from that or wander too far away from that, right? It's kind of like a non-negotiable for us and our family. um, it's how we spend our Saturday nights and our Saturday evenings. We go to church as a family. um, we all have our own little practices with the Bible. She's got her own Bible. She's got her own little
Devotional.
yeah, her own little the biblical devotional little notebook. And um I think the biggest thing is for her is she just sees us in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She just sees us in it, and not like when it's convenient, or um not when it's special occasions, or just going to church for the holidays on Easter or on Christmas.
Mhm.
It's an ever and ongoing thing for us in our household. And it's kind of the complete opposite, where it's like if we miss church a week or two just based on crazy schedules, or which is rare for us, we're very quick to get back to like our routines and our practices.
Mhm.
And even more so when things are a little turbulent or when life is a little hectic and chaotic, she sees us revert back to that
Yeah.
always. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Um, and she's also at that age where she just turned 7. The kids are extremely impressionable, and it's just like I said, you can put the wrong things in front of them and influence them the wrong way, or let them have exposure to the wrong things.
Yeah.
Which is why you see a lot of these kids and you know the trends and the TikTok trends and the other social media trends and things like that. We don't really bring any of that into our home. It's like when you're on social media, she
We don't scroll in front of her.
right, and it's very very aware and very we have a lot of discernment for what we allow her to be exposed to.
Mhm.
um but yeah, I think a lot of it just comes natural due to her curiosity, and just based on our solid foundation and what we implement in our household.
Yeah, do you want to touch on the things that like we don't let her watch or like the things we don't let her do? Because I feel like that's one thing that I think it's important. Like I just spiritual warfare is real. Hollywood is very demonic. I do think that the kingdom of Satan and the kingdom of God both want children. The kingdom of heaven both want children,
Hmm.
because they're minds are like sponges and they're just like they're so pure, they're innocent. So it's easy, like when you're watching a show, you're in this state of consciousness that you're just taking everything in. So we're very like mindful with the shows that she watches and what she's allowed to watch and not allowed to watch.
Yeah.
We just got into Angel, which I think is like really great for people that are more conservative Christian, and you don't want your child being influenced by, I don't even know what's out there anymore, like just like crazy things. I don't know.
Well, it's like little things that they
Introduce.
casually, yeah, introduce into these shows. And um it doesn't need to be like super blatant and um like right at the forefront. You
Mhm.
know, it's like they drop these little things in the TV shows, and yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of how we could go about this because you said, do you want to talk about what we don't let her consume as far as like entertainment?
Yeah,
And
like what we do and what we don't.
it's probably easier to say what we do because the majority of the stuff that's out there and the majority of the stuff that kids are consuming as far as like what's on social media. First of all, our daughter's 7. She's not getting a phone right now. She's not on social media. It's not even something that she should be thinking about right now. And for the record, she's not. You know what I mean? There's kids her age for sure, 1000% that have cell phones right
She
now.
did ask me actually like 2 days ago when we were on our walk. She's like, "But mommy, one of uh, the little girls that we know, she got a cell phone on her 7th birthday. She's like, why can't I have a cell phone?" I'm just like, you don't need a cell phone. You're always with someone. Like,
Yeah.
there's no, like, for safety reasons, there's no reason for you to have a cell phone.
Right.
And just like, there's no reason for it.
Yep.
She does have a tablet. We monitor that. We're
Hmm.
pretty like, she can't use the tablet without our permission. Really, all she does is call her grandmother. She FaceTimes her grandmother on that.
Yeah.
We
Or
don't do YouTube unless someone's sitting there watching her. She has like one thing on YouTube that she's allowed to watch,
yeah.
and which is like an educational show. Uh,
Yeah. There's a couple shows on YouTube, and I mean, I guess if people are curious, we could probably plug those in.
yeah,
Um, but just a couple YouTube channels that, like you said, are educational
she does
and
PBS.
a lot of PBS. She's been really heavy on the Angel app.
She loves the Tuttle twins.
The Tuttle twins, yeah. Um, and yeah, it's almost like to the point in our household where it's like she doesn't really know anything different. You know,
Hmm.
if she asks about certain things, I mean, we always that it is something that's like I think we do pretty well. Is like I don't talk to her always like she's a 7-year old. I don't
Yeah,
talk to
same.
her like she's not intelligent. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
she's a very smart kid. She's very aware, and she's a very curious kid, so she's always wondering about what's going on and how things work. And it's just those are all really great opportunities to take the time to explain things.
Yeah.
And I never got into the parenting books because I feel like if you have self-awareness and you're somebody that is pretty in tune,
Hmm.
I don't know that there's anything when you don't overcomplicate it. I don't know if there's anything that is more natural and more instinctual than parenting.
Hmm.
I've kind of always felt like that. I mean, sure, there are some things like we get into uncharted waters all the time. Like there really is no blueprint for parenting. But to some extent, like the basic things I do feel like come pretty natural. And it's just I always try to find the silver lining in all of it, even though that sounds really cliche. But even when she does something wrong or she does something that is a behavioral issue, or she's kind of been struggling with like gratitude these last few weeks and
Hmm.
being grateful,
Hmm.
and those are all really great opportunities to pull her aside. And I will say one thing that we're really big on is not reprimanding her in a sense where we tear her down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And being very diligent about not reprimanding her in front of others to the point of like embarrassment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rather than reprimanding her in front of a large crowd or in front of like people in our family or friends of ours, I'll usually pull her to the side in a
Yeah.
space that's away from everybody. And it's not like I don't ever berate her. It's
Hmm.
like a simple conversation, you know. I rarely ever raise my voice. She might think I'm raising my voice, but
Hmm.
very rarely do I ever raise my voice to her. And most often it's usually just a conversation like this,
Hmm.
where it's like, again, because she's so curious, sure, you have to like kind of make oversimplify things in the way you explain things,
Yeah.
but rather than just give her the information or say, hey, this is the right way to do things and we don't do things this way, it's really like you drop the information in a way that like kind of plays on her curiosity, right? So it's
Mhm.
like, well, why do you think this is bad, or why do you think this isn't a good idea?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and a lot of times she'll answer the questions, like, you know what I mean? Like you just kind of prompt her, and she'll put the pieces of the puzzle together, you know? But yeah, I think a lot of times with people, it's especially like when you have multiple children, I feel like it's very easy to kind of be lackadaisical, and
Yeah.
you're a little bit more forthcoming with it. You just call it lazy parenting. And I guess that, yeah, for the sake of the conversation, we could just refer to it as that. But yeah, I feel like it's very easy just to stick a cell phone in front of your kid's face, or stick a tablet in front of your kid's face, or let them zone out and, just watch whatever they want to watch. It's, for some people, maybe it's just not worth the fight. Um, and sure, that is the easier way to go about it. But for us, I guess maybe we're swimming a little bit against the current, and I would rather just take the time and be super diligent and super mindful with how we're going about things, you
Yeah.
know?
I feel like discipline from you is quite different than like the way I discipline. Like she definitely, I don't know if it's like a little girl thing. We haven't had boys yet. So um although I do feel like Elliot is very um she's just like she takes like when you discipline her, it hits different than like when I discipline her.
Mm,
And we have talked about this of how like the mother is more nurturing. Like it actually, I do discipline her. And I also like want to be clear when we say discipline, I feel like people are like, you're hitting we're not hitting our
no, never.
child. We're raising our child up. And that does require discipline. It's just like like I had this conversation with Elliot one day. She had done something or said something, and I corrected her, and I was just like, hey, like, listen, I think it was at cheer practice. She was like wild at cheer practice and wasn't listening to the coaches. And after practice, I was like, listen, like, we're not going to do that. Like, you have to have respect for the coaches. You're there to learn. And she was like, she was in the back seat and she's like, but mommy, does that mean you don't love me anymore?
Mm,
And I'm like, no, like you need discipline. God disciplines us because he loves us so much, because he's building our character. If I were just to allow you to be wild and disrespectful and you not understand like when you mess up, that's not me loving you. That's to me, that's the opposite.
hmm
Like you need correction. Everybody needs correction. I need correction. Um, but I feel like with she there's just I think that we've gotten really good at when it's your turn and when it's my turn and like what she needs from both. Like there's
mm,
some times where she's acting out and like she honestly just needs love. Like
yeah.
she needs more nurturance. And you actually do a really good job at that too. Like you're such a nurturing, loving father. But then there's also times where like she needs sternness. Like she needs like, yo, like
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I feel like we've gotten like really good at that, and we've also done a really good job of like when one of us is like tapped out,
Mm,
like when one of us is like, yeah, this is too much, I need you to step in, and vice versa. And I think that that's also like quite helpful. Again, those are all like those aren't things that like you can read in a book.
right.
Like those are things that it takes communication with the husband and wife, but it also it's a lot of things unspoken in the home. It's a lot of things of like, I feel like we're so in tuned, even like with the school thing. Like we just know that she's not thriving. She does good in school. She gets great grades. She's probably one of the smartest kids in her class. But we know long term, if she continues in school, she's just going to be like everyone else, and we don't want that for her. And like we speak that life into her all the time, is like, we don't want you like all these other kids.
Hmm.
And like we want you to be whatever God has designed you for, and we will do whatever we can to like lift that up in you.
Hmm.
So we do speak a lot of life into her,
Hmm.
where even if she's messed up, even when we do have to discipline her and we do have to correct her, It's not like, and I was raised that way. Like I was raised with a lot of belittlement of like, you're less than you, there wasn't a lot of like encouragement,
Hmm.
and it completely shattered my confidence.
Yeah.
And I think you were probably raised like that too, where like discipline came with aggression as opposed to like disciplining with love,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
um I don't know if you want to speak to that, because this is probably one of the, I don't know if you know this, but this is probably like one of the things that's very misunderstood in the Bible. And it's Proverbs 22, verse 15. And it says, "Folly is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline drives it far from him." And a lot of like communities or families, they'll use this verse to justify like beating their children.
Mm.
And the rod of discipline to me is not like beating your child. The rod of discipline is like, we're instilling something in you so that you can be like raised up to be a good citizen and citizen. Because eventually, like, we're not raising a child, we're raising an adult to go out into the world.
Yeah.
And one day, this adult is going to leave our home, and she's going to have to make choices.
Yeah.
She's going to have her own family. She's going to be raising her own children. And it's just like one of the hard, I think I read this actually when she was very young, or when I was pregnant with her, of just like, one of the hardest things for us to understand is like, our children aren't actually ours. Like, we
Mm.
don't own our children. They're not ours. We have borrowed time with them,
Yeah.
which makes me like so sad to think about. But like, she's going to go off and have her own life one day. And like, we just have to pray that the values and the morals and the confidence and the love that we've instilled in her gets her through. Like, we can't, this is why emotional resiliency is so important. If you're coddling your child and everything because you're so afraid for them to feel discomfort,
Yeah.
they're going to go out into the world. Discomfort is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Pain is guaranteed. Heartbreak is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Disappointment and failure is guaranteed. And that's one thing you added to that post. It's like the last thing on that slide deck is like, we teach her how to fail, and to like fail with grace. Like, it's part of the process.
Yeah.
That's why I love her being in cheerleading right now, because like, she's not like the best at it. Like,
Yeah.
she actually has to work at it,
Hmm.
and I feel like this is something that like our culture right now is not teaching children.
Mm.
We're teaching kids like and it's something that I read in the book Even Exile, when they were talking about women homemaking. And the reason why, like in the 1950s, women became so depressed and they started taking like Ambience and just like these psych drugs, because there was no effort anymore. Everything was, you could put your laundry, instead of washing your laundry by hand and putting it up and
Hmm.
making your own clothes, everything was easily accessible, which is why homemaking right now is not, there's no purpose behind it.
Yeah.
Everything's easy,
Yeah.
and it's why women like struggle with it, because everything's easy, where you're not having to prepare clothes and food for the winter and ensure that your family's fed for the winter. There's just, it's just all that, you just go to the grocery store,
Yeah.
and I feel like we've done this with kids too, is like, there's no, which is why we want to pull her out of school, because like, I want to put her in co-ops where like she's learning how to like do hard things,
Yeah.
instead of her doing a worksheet in class all day. That's all she does, is what I've come to the conclusion. She does a bunch of worksheets.
Yeah.
Like, there's no effort in that. And she's so smart that it's actually, and this is not to like be prideful or any way, she's a very smart kid. It's easy for her. She's bored.
Yeah.
And that's not how we're meant to labor. Genesis 1 tells us that God told us to labor the earth, and like, we don't have that anymore. And I think these kids nowadays, they don't have, they're just given everything. They're
Hmm.
just like, oh yeah, here you go.
Hmm.
There's no effort for the work,
Yeah.
or there's no effort for what you actually receive.
Yeah. I think it's probably, in my opinion, it's really important to make sure that as a parent, you're not overcompensating for your experiences when you were a kid.
Oh yeah, go into that because you always tell me this.
right? So it's like, I think sometimes you're really hard on yourself because you want to be a part of everything. Um, and like when you were a little girl, like your mom worked a lot, for instance, right? And
Hmm.
there were seasons where your dad was the one making you guys dinner and doing the nighttime routines and making sure you guys were doing your homework, that kind of stuff. Um, and we're in a little bit of a similar season right now. It's temporary, but we're in a very similar season. But you're ultra hard on yourself for because of the experiences you had when you were a little girl, right? Um,
Hmm.
and you kind of, I won't say you strive for perfection, but I think that kind of bleeds into some of the ways that you tend to parent. And you put a lot of pressure on yourself to be there for all of those little things and to be there for every moment, which I don't think is a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think you could give yourself some grace for sure, because we've been extremely blessed in a sense that, you know, from the time she was born until she was 4 or 5 years old, we were able to have her home.
Yeah.
You know, we tried the VPK, and I think for obvious reasons, things didn't work out with her in a VPK program, and we
Hmm.
ultimately just pulled her back out anyway because
Yeah.
we'd rather have her home. I think those type of things them situations work themselves out in our favor. But we've been extremely blessed to be able to have her home up until she started school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not everybody has that option. Some kids are going to daycare at 6 months old. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, we sacrificed.
we did,
We sacrificed an income for that.
we did.
And I would say yeah, like I this is a tough season for me because I am working, and first of all it goes against everything I believe in.
Yeah,
Um so that's quite hard, but also like I like thoroughly enjoy it. So it's almost like I struggle because it's like I don't have enough time to do all the things that I want to do.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? And I do like I think that women should be home with their children, and that's like such like a radical viewpoint. um but I think it's of the most benefit to the children.
yeah,
And yeah, like and like luckily I work remote, so like I'm still home when Elliot gets home from school. Like I'm still always there.
yeah.
But I think for me, like it's a season in which like it's very hard for me sometimes because it's like I don't have enough time to like do all the things that I actually like want to do. And obviously we're in a season in 2026 where that's all about to like be changed again,
Hmm.
where that is what the roles are going to go back into of like me being the homemaker. But I even told you this. It's really interesting because like I actually never saw the glory in it until I came to Christ and started reading the Bible and like understanding a woman's role in the home. And this is why I'm so passionate about it, because like I still saw it as a burden. Like I saw motherhood as a burden in a lot of ways. I saw being a wife as a burden. I saw being a homemaker as a burden. Now it's like I've tasted it all. I've tasted corporate, I've tasted just like hyper independence. I've tasted, and truly there's no satisfaction in it. I've tasted those worlds, and the most joyful thing that I've experienced is being the one that my child wakes up to every single morning, and being able to have slow days, being able to have busy days, able to have full days with my child by my side.
Hmm.
And as we pray for more children, like I'm so excited because I do feel as though I get to kind of do it over again, where there's just going to be like, there was just, and this is why I launched my program Legacy and changed it, because I've been there. Like, I've been there of like, I've been home with Elliot, but I'm scrolling my phone or stressed out about business or like not fully in it. So I feel like I get to have almost like a redemption in it of like, I want to be like so fully in it again.
Yeah.
And that excites me. Like I can't wait to like, like be making you a sandwich. That's just exciting. And it's just, to me, I understand it. And I feel like so many women under, don't understand that it's God's will for women to have dominion over the home. And that dominion is power. When women have dominion over the home, we have, like, that is power that God's given us, and his grace, he's given us that. And it's why, like, I just shared a post about this of like, I love during Christmas being able to make sourdough cookies from scratch with Elliot. I loved, like the cinnamon rolls, and just like being able to like have my family come over on Christmas and like be able to host them. And like,
Hmm.
it's just, there's something to it where a few years ago, I didn't like that. Like, I didn't find all this joy of like making our home what it is,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I think that women, like, if we, again, like, this is why I'm just so passionate about it, because we've been lied to, of just like both men and women. There's so much joy in being parents, because we do get to raise up these kids in Christ, and we do get to influence them. And I think that culture in the world is telling parents, and I can go so deep into this of like the history of this feminism. Like, I get fired up about it because it's all by design to take authority out of the home and into the state, meaning the government, and into just basically people that don't have your kids' best interest in mind. And we're creating kids that are hyper independent, or on the flip side, they are completely frozen in time, where, like you said, they're going to job interviews at the age of 21. This is real. Like, kids are going to job interviews with their parents. They don't know how to make appointments for themselves. They don't know how to book things for themselves. Elliot, from the time she could speak, was ordering for herself. I don't need to order for you. What do you want to eat? You order the food.
Yeah.
You say please and you say thank you. You look people in the eye. This child has never had an issue with communicating with adults.
Yeah.
And that's because we have always communicated with her like an adult. We always speak plainly to her. And we also have like set that standard. You're going to, I've always had that mindset. You are going to go out into the world one day, and you're going to have to figure out life.
Yeah.
And I pray to God that I've given you enough tools. I think that it's now a responsibility, now that I understand salvation, now that I understand the weight of Jesus dying on the cross, that I just pray that you enter the kingdom of heaven. Like, that is all that I pray. I pray that you don't grapple with your faith like I did. I pray that you don't go into, like, the other day she asked me about witchcraft, and I had to like do a whole thing about the spiritual gifts of the Holy Spirit and how it gets distorted, and why I was into witchcraft and all of these things and the doors that get open. I just explained it to her. She needs to understand spiritual warfare because it's coming for her
Yeah.
every single day,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, but that's like the difference maker right there. Instead of just being like, well, to use your example, witchcraft, like, I don't know any other 7-year-old out there that's asking about witchcraft, but rather than just being like, well, it's not of God, or it's evil, or it's bad, we don't do it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really taking the time
Mm-hmm.
and diligently explaining to her why it is, and even more so than why you don't
Why it's
do it, why
important.
it's
Yeah.
what caused you to make a change. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Why you used to do it, why you no longer do it, and really just explain to her like she is an adult, because just because kids are young does not mean that they can't interpret things, they can't read between the lines. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like, you might have to oversimplify things and use words that they understand,
Yeah.
but she gets it. And she's also like one of those kids too, where it's like, it doesn't always like hit her right there that second,
Mm-hmm.
but she'll chew on it for a little while, and then
Yeah.
she digests it, and then it's
Yeah.
like you see her, little,
Wheels turning.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like she'll implement those things, and her behavior will shift over the course of a couple days. Um, I remember one time I took her to the park, and it's something you said, she's always kind of struggled. She always wants to play with you at the park.
Yeah.
when I take her to the park, she just always runs, and she'll make a friend anywhere any situation you put this girl in, she always comes out with a friend,
See, that's what's
multiple
so different
friends.
about her being with you and being with me. If I take her to the park, she just wants me.
She wants you, yeah.
She just wants to hang out with me,
But
which
any
is fine.
case, I took her to the park one day, and this was a few years ago. This maybe before she even started school, so she might have been 4 going on to 5 or something. And she had a little bit of shyness to her. Like, she was a little timid at the park, and she was like, I don't know who to play with. And I'm like, well, you have to go meet people and make a friend. She was like, she was shy, and like that's a little uncommon for her. Even at that point in life, was a little
Yeah.
uncommon. So it was just like, some dad at the park with his 2 kids, and I said, come with me. And I didn't know this guy at the park, but we walked over and sat next to them on the swing, and I said, hey man, how are you? He's like, good man. He's like, how's your day going? Whatever, blah blah blah. I'm like, good. I'm like, hey, my name's Justin. I shook his hand. He told me what his name was, and asked him about his kids, and we struck up a few like a just small talk. And I looked at her, and I was like, literally that easy. I'm like,
Hmm.
just make a friend at the park.
Yeah.
And she ended up playing with his kids for a while before they ended up taking off. But that might have been the last time I seen her get shy at the park. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like, I don't know. It's like those are. I feel like there's so many opportunities throughout the course of a day, especially the more your kids are home, especially the more that your kids are with you, and like
You
we
just
have
influence
you just
them.
influence them. Yeah, we have our own little tribe here, and we do spend a lot of time together. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As a family, we spend a lot of time together, and it's just there's so many times, like just through over the course of a day and a week, where
Hmm.
you can find those little moments, and then you start to develop an eye for them, and you find those little moments to like teach your kids and to like mold and craft your kids, especially if those are things that like you weren't exposed to or taught as a kid. And
Hmm.
that's a big thing that comes up for me a lot, is just things that I was exposed to from a
Hmm.
parenting perspective, and things that I wasn't exposed to from a parenting perspective. And a lot of times it's just the opposite of things that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's just the opposite way of how I was raised. A lot of times ends up being the way that I teach her, or I explain things to her, and a lot of times you hear those conversations, especially when you have little girls. It's like, oh, just wait till they're teenagers. Does it make you nervous about her being a teenager? And for me, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Like, we've set her on such a solid trajectory at such a young age, and it's like the things she's being exposed to now,
Yeah.
and the things that she's learning about, and the things that she's picking up from us. She's so far ahead of where you and I were when we were her age. I mean,
Hmm.
things that we didn't even start to grasp until we were in our mid 20s.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could put together a laundry list of examples, but she's just going to be so far ahead, of where we were when we were kids. And it's like, by the time she's a teenager, like, that's my end goal, is by the time she's 15, 16 years old, she gets her driver's license. I don't need to be worried about where she's going. I'll
Hmm.
inquire who she's going to hang out with and what their intentions are, but like I told you, she'll forever have my trust. And this is something that her and I, we talk about a lot,
Hmm.
um, is trust and breaking trust, and how hard it is to regain trust after you lose somebody's
Yeah.
trust. And she has all my confidence and all my trust in the world up until she loses it. And that's something that, like, her and I, we kind of have like a spoken agreement. Like, that's a big thing for her and I, is we don't lie and we don't break trust, because it's extremely hard to regain somebody's trust,
Yeah.
you know and yeah, I don't really worry about that point in time when she becomes a teenager, because at that, like, a big thing for us is just not going with the crowd, dude. You don't want to be like every other kid out
Hmm.
there, and you don't want to just follow the herd and follow blindly. And I tell her that all the time. I'm like, I would rather see you off doing your own thing and being in your own little world than just following all these other kids around and doing the same thing,
Yeah. She's like that too.
and she
Like,
is like that. It's like, I don't want to see you be like every other person. Blaze your own trail, march to the beat of your own drum, and you don't want to be a follower, dude. There's too many followers in
mhm.
this world. And if you're going to be a follower of Jesus, but just lead by example. And
Mhm.
you see that, and it's like kids her age gravitate towards her, and there's some kids that don't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
There's some kids where she might miss out on some connections and some relationships because kids have a hard time. Like, it's just like probably like us as adults, when you see people that are like super confident, and sometimes that can be intimidating. And there are some kids that she just doesn't jive with, you know,
Yeah,
um,
but that's okay.
which is
Like,
fine,
I'm not.
which is totally fine.
Yeah.
I would rather see her again march to the beat of her own drum than to, and that's something that we've kind of subtly been we've subtly brought up and brought to her attention, especially being in school, is not putting other kids like on a pedestal. And I'm
Mhm.
like, like, sure, you're going to gravitate towards kids that, you want to have relationships and friendships with, but it's like a couple of the kids, one of which is a good friend of mine. It's like you have to think about how they're being raised and the things that they're exposed to, but you don't put other kids on a pedestal in a sense that, like, oh, you think they're cool, and like, you
Mhm.
know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
you don't want to be a follower, just lead and do your own thing,
Mhm.
and she's pretty receptive of that. And in most cases, kids usually tend to be the ones to gravitate towards her, which is actually pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're also just like I feel like I'm just like very honest with her about things,
You
you
have to
know.
be.
Like
You
I
have to be.
just because I tell her that all like this all the time. Like I just I want to know what's happening in your life, you know.
Hmm.
And there are some friends that, you know, like she has, and I'm just honest with her about it. Like it's not that I don't like these friends, it's just that I see behaviors that concern me, and I'm just like honest with her about it. And what's interesting is she's so receptive to it, and even sometimes before we even speak that, like she knows, you
Hmm.
know. Which is also really cool because we had like I went to her parent teacher conference. She stayed home with her, and her teacher was like, she's the first kid to go to on their kids if they're crying or upset. She's always kind. She's always respectful. Just to like she cares about people, you
Hmm.
know. And I think it's because she sees us like. Well, I was thinking this as you were talking. Like people are gonna think like if she cries, like we're not there with her. Like actually we are. Like we're very in tune with her emotions and her needs.
Hmm.
When I say like we're not coddling her through it, it doesn't mean like we're not getting down on her level, we're not loving her, but we're teaching her the tools to like move through it
Yeah.
instead of stay in it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
And I think that that's really, really important. And also, like, she learns that to be emotionally aware of other kids from us. You know, like, I've never told her, like, what she's crying for is dumb. It's
Right.
just, let me understand, like, what you're actually going through, and let's, like, actually, like, pull the pieces apart. Because she's also, like, a super emotional kid. She sees us kissing and, like, hugging, and, like, instantly she's like, I'm not loved. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, that's not it at all,
Yeah.
you know. Like she just loves being loved on. And I think that that's like another thing is like, and I'm excited for us to have more kids because I do think all kids need love differently. They're going to be raised differently, so I'm excited to have like multiple kids in the house and like figuring out what our kids needs. But I just I don't know, like I think that as parents we have to be really good at understanding the language of our children and not trying to contort them into like what we need them to be, but like really understanding like what is it that they need from us.
Yeah.
Elliot's the type of kid where she needs emotional connection. She needs to be touched. Like we know her love languages. She's got all the love languages actually. Like it's kind of, and she needs a lot of love.
Yeah.
But we oh wait, like we're so good at like figuring out like what isn't she getting right now? Like if she's misbehaving, instead of being like you're a bad kid, we're like, well, what does she actually need right now? And I
Yeah.
think that that's really important of like, because it's kind of like our relationship with God. If we're like separating ourselves from God, it's like usually we need something,
Hmm.
you know. And I like kids are the same way. um so yeah, that was just like one thing that I wanted to add to it because it requires you not to be a lazy parent. I think a lot of people are lazy, to be honest with you. Like I did a class called Feminine Restoration. If you guys haven't gotten it, you can go to the links in my Instagram bio, or maybe I'll have Amanda share it here. But this was like the first master class that I did. It was like a 3-day teaching event where like I really like shared it with women of what I was learning around the feminist movement and biblical womanhood and all of the things. And I got on a call. I was just like, we've been conditioned to be lazy as women. Like, we've been, men and women, like, we're so lazy as a society. And then we have these children, we're just like lazy with it. It doesn't mean we have to be perfect. I think a lot of the things that we actually emphasize are actually the things that are not needed.
Mm.
We need emotional connection, we need intimacy, we need just like hearing each other, and just like that's another thing, like we listen to Elliot, like we take time to like listen and be like, what is it that's actually missing right now, you know?
Mhm.
We try our best to not speak over her, and if we do, like, God bless her, but she's such a outspoken kid that she's like, you're not listening to me, and then it's like our stop of like, okay, what do you need to tell us, you know?
Mhm.
um so I don't know, I feel like parenting is not that complicated, and at the same time it's has to be intentional.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think if we look at it biblically, and there's so many like things I pulled up, but I think of the verse where God says he knitted us perfectly in our mother's womb. He knew us before we knew the world. Like, he knew us first.
Mhm.
We as parents, like, we hold that same responsibility. Now this child's not in the womb, this child's in the world, and we're knitting, we're pulling all these pieces together for this child. We're not perfect with it, we're deeply flawed and sinful, and um it's why, like, we also teach Elliot repentance. Like, she has to learn how to own up to her mistakes and her sins and things that she's done wrong, not from shame, but just like own it. Like, you're always going to be met with love. Like, we're not going to hold this against you.
Mhm.
We love you so much, but you have to learn how to ask for forgiveness and to be sorry for something.
Yeah.
I just think like it is lazy. It's like we've just been given. I feel like right now we're in such a weird time when it comes to parenting. Even birth is like this. It's like birth, take the easiest way out of birth,
Mm.
take the easiest way out of parenting. It's just like, no, like, one of the best things I ever did was birth our child and feel the whole thing. And it was so intentional. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't something I just like hoped to. I shouldn't say that because we just did a podcast on hope, but it wasn't something I tried for. I didn't try to have a natural birth. I chose a natural birth. I was intentional about it. We were intentional with everything we did with that child, with her, and we will continue to be that way when we have more children. Everything is intentional.
Yeah.
It's all for purpose, and it's to build up these children so that they can be good, loving, Christ-led citizens of society,
Yeah.
you know because the world's broken.
Yeah.
The world's going to try to eat them up and spit them out.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing is people are like, I've heard this before of like, well, you can't, especially with the homeschooling thing of like, oh, well, you can't like protect them. I'm going to protect her as long as I can against this world because it is so dark. Let her be innocent
Yeah.
for as long as she can.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily about keeping them in a bubble as
Yeah.
much as it is about, listen, your kids are going to be indoctrinated one way or the other. It's just I have a preference and I would prefer to be the one indoctrinating my child
Yeah. Hmm.
versus the state or versus, whatever the
Just, you don't even know who these teachers are. Like, what's your background?
exactly.
What have you been through? You're giving your
Exactly.
kid away to these institutions
Yep.
for 8 hours a day
Yep.
for nine, now it's 10 months out of the year.
Yeah.
You don't even know these people. We don't even see these people on a day. Like, it's not even like we go, like, when I went to school, my parents could pick me up straight from the classroom or
Yeah.
drop me off straight in the classroom. They were seeing these kids,
Yeah.
or like they were seeing the teachers almost daily.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore.
No, it's not. And that's, that is something that are very diligent about as well is, yeah, you probably email her teacher quite a bit, you know what I mean? And like this year it's a little bit different because her teacher is a completely different person from her kindergarten teacher. Shout out Mrs. Green. Her kindergarten teacher is like one of the most
The best teacher
amazing
ever.
people I've ever met in my life.
Hmm.
And full confidence. And like, there was never a point in time where it was like sending our kid to be with Miss Green throughout the day. It was like, if there was anybody else you're going to send your kid to, is like Miss Green's
Like we were
great.
texting over Christmas
Yeah,
gifts.
exactly. So
She went to Elliot's birthday party.
yeah, exactly. So this year it's a completely different experience, but at the same time, it's like you and I both realize that I'm not putting confidence in the state to raise my child.
Mm-mm.
We're there based on technicality and out of all of our options, with the exception of going and paying 15 grand a year for private school. We go to a private school with a public school tuition is where she's at right now. It's a
Yeah.
great school for what it is, but at the same time, it's like
It's still a public school.
it's still, yeah, it's still a charter, it's still a public charter school. And yeah, it's just like I'm not trusting the school to teach my kid all the little nuances about life. You're there because you have to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For now. And the only reason that she's there now is because, we missed a deadline for some paperwork through the state, and pertaining to a scholarship, you
Yeah.
know? So ideally this time next year, she'll be home with us, and yeah, it's going to be a sacrifice. It 1000% is going to be a sacrifice, but I think there's few sacrifices in life that are worth making, but that's one of them.
Well, here's the deal. This is where also people like struggle with parenting. I think it's like we've talked about like the people that like don't want to have children because they love their single lives and, their cats and whatever. Um
Yeah.
Parenting is a sacrifice, marriage is a sacrifice, this whole idea of following Christ is a sacrifice, like this whole idea that we're not supposed to sacrifice. You are not living your life for you. We are here to be of service. You're of service to me as my husband. I'm in service to you as my wife. We're of service to God above anything else. Like we are constantly in service. And one of the things that he commands us to do is to be fruitful and to multiply and to bear children and to raise these children up in his name. And that is a sacrifice, and it's a great sacrifice. Again, I'll go back to birth because birthing naturally is a sacrifice. Even if you don't birth naturally, having a baby in your womb for 9 months, the way that your body as a woman expands, contracts, does all of the things that it does to have this child come into the world, is a sacrifice.
Mm,
Breastfeeding is a sacrifice. Like all of these things are a sacrifice. Even if you don't breastfeed, just like getting up in the middle of the night, it's all a sacrifice. Parenting is a sacrifice. We are meant to die to the flesh daily. And one of the greatest ways I believe that we can serve God is to have children
mm,
and to treat having children as something that is a blessing. So, although it is a sacrifice to self, it is in service to humanity, it's in service to God, it's in service to his kingdom. It's such a gift.
mm,
And I think that when you raise children secularly and you raise children just lazy parenting, just at without intention, without devotion, without discipline, without like that love, um yeah, you're going to struggle with parenting, because you're not seeing, again, like I've had to reframe my mind for this. I spent the first few years of motherhood, and it's so deeply taught in these pleasure circles and feminine empowerment circles and feminine embodiment circles of like, well, still take care of yourself, still make sure that all of your needs and your desires and your pleasures are met. And it does a huge disservice to your children and to your husband and to your family as a whole.
mm,
And I just feel so passionately about it because I've been on the other side. And what's crazy is I ended up losing our relationship. I ended up losing myself. I made money, but I was deeply unhappy. And I was constantly just hooked into like that me game, And I just like, once I was able to reframe it and read the word of God and like really understand what it means to be a good woman and what God designed us for, like Yeah, we are designed to sacrifice. Like we're constantly sacrificing. And you know what's the most beautiful thing is Christ gave us the ultimate. If we are meant to be Christ-like, Christ showed us the ultimate sacrifice by dying on the cross.
Mm,
Like that's the ultimate. He gave us the ultimate sacrifice by dying on the cross. He gave his life for us so that we could have life.
yeah.
So yeah, if I have to spend like just 10, 20 years raising up these children and giving everything, all of us, to these children, spend the rest of my life serving you and just serving our family, like that's the greatest gift.
Yeah.
That's a gift. Like there's so much fulfillment in that to
Yeah.
me. And I feel like I'll just speak to the women because that's all I can speak about. I feel like this is where women have just been trained up to be so selfish,
Mm,
and probably men too in a lot of ways. But really, going back to Lord of the that movie is like stuck with me because like it's the same thing with men. Like men are trained up to die. It says it in the Bible. It says it in Ephesians. Men, be willing to die for your wife, to die for your family. I can't submit to you if you're not willing to die for me. I told you this. If it's ever like the end of the world, we've been watching a show on Angel called, what is it, like Homebound or
Homestead.
Homestead? It's like end of the world type deal. The men are I told Justin, like the men are fighting. There's some women that fight. I'm like, just I could never. Like I would be like an anxious mess. That's just like not me. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't even deal with like a small little flame in the bathroom.
Yeah. You're not built for it.
He's like, and you're like, no, babe, you'd be like with the children in the house. Like, no, and I'm just like, okay, but are you willing to die for me? Like, that's what you're supposed to do, is you're supposed to be willing to die for the family. And that's like an extreme case. We're so blessed because we live in America and we're not like fighting wars on the home front.
Yeah.
But that is the sacrifice of men. So I think it's both ways. And I don't know. I feel like we've lost that. And maybe that's radical, but that's how I see it. I see raising children as going to war. Like I'm going to war for my child and her soul and her salvation every single day.
Mm,
So no, you're not allowed to watch K-pop Demon Hunters. No, she like came home. Remember, she came home and she's like, "Mom, what's Stranger Things?"
oh yeah.
I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And I just told her, I'm like, well, it's not like your dad and I have seen it. We won't watch it now because it's deeply demonic and it's really not appropriate for first. Like you would be terrified. You would have nightmares. Like I couldn't sleep after watching it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just like, I don't know. That's how I see mothering and parenting and all of it. It's just like, we're going to war every day for these children because I'll never forget. I think it was Bryce. What's his name? He's like a Christian. He's like a younger Christian YouTuber, and he goes around and he'll like spread the gospel. Bryce.
Bryce Crawford.
Yeah, I think that's his name. He went to a satanic temple, and in the satanic, it was Baphomet, a statue of Baphomet, and it was children just like doe-eyed looking up at Baphomet. And he's like, they want the children. They want the kingdom of Satan wants our children. We as parents, we need to be intentional and aware and wise and rooted in Christ, rooted in the word. We need to trust ourselves. That's why like the books are cool. Like if you want to read the books, I have one girlfriend, she's read like all the books on parenting and birth and mothering. Cool, like that's great, read the books. But there is something divinely given to us as parents that like a book's not going to teach you other than the book of God, the Bible. But it's like God's given us, these people didn't have books
Yeah.
raising. Mary didn't
I
have
was
a
gonna
book
say.
to raise Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I see a lot of symbology and a lot of resemblance with the parenting books, and you can tell me if I'm out way off base here, but the parenting books and like the whole new age thing is like it really kind of pulls you away from like your
Oh
natural
yeah.
given gifts, right? Like your intuition and like your natural skill set that you're born with. Like we are made to reproduce. and you have biological needs and biological gifts, and it kind of pulls you out and away from those things.
Yeah.
It's just like things become more distorted, and things are just, it's too much noise.
Yeah.
It's just too much noise. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I was stepping into parenthood was definitely, it was, I had some fear around stepping into parenthood, but it was pressure that you put on yourself, as far as like, am I going to be a good parent?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Am I going to be able to show up and raise my kid how I see myself raising my kid?
Yeah.
Right? Can
Yeah.
you fill those shoes? Not like in a sense like, I don't know. Are we gonna co-sleep together, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, weird little nuanced stuff like that. It's like, I don't know. It's just, but to some extent, like, as far as like raising a kid,
It's God's
it
design.
just, it
Yeah.
comes so natural. And yeah, I would encourage people to kind of lean into that.
Yeah.
You know, lean into that. And yeah, sure. If you want to read some parenting books, to maybe get the other side of the coin, sure. But I wouldn't take them as gospel. That's for sure.
Mhm.
You
Do
know,
you think intuition's new age?
no, I
No.
don't. No, there's something like,
Like it's instinct, like is it instinctual? Is it like it's like our instincts
it
are,
is
yeah.
100%. So it's like, think about it like, if you were out in the woods, perhaps, and maybe there's like apex predators out there, right? So like, you're in the Amazon jungle, and there's something 20 feet behind you that has you in its sights, and like, there's something in you instinctually that just, you're able to feel that. How do you explain that?
I don't know, is it the Holy Spirit? I'm like genuinely asking because
I don't think intuition is new age. No, I think,
like maybe it's something they've like hijacked.
I don't know how I would explain that. It's just, that's what comes to mind for me. And it's like, I don't,
I almost want to ask Chad, but
maybe it's like it's a divine gift.
mm-hmm.
The whole, because like, to some extent, the whole like trust your gut thing, I feel like that's a form of intuition.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, why do you ask?
I guess I don't know because like I coming at like you haven't like had to come you haven't had to like come out of new age like I am, but I don't know. I just I think a part of me, like I was having a conversation with one of my girlfriends about crystals, and she got rid of all of her crystals in her house. And yeah, so it got like me thinking of just like, are there still any other doors? Like the lane, like I feel like I've had to rewire my languaging,
For sure.
and just so like I wonder if like into that just I might have to like look it up or just pray on it, but like intuition isn't in the Bible. Like that word is not in the Bible.
Hmm.
Um and but I do agree like there's an instinct that we have is that the Holy Spirit that's like instructing us, that's guiding us, because that's what Jesus says is that he's going to leave behind essentially a guide, like
Hmm.
the Holy Spirit to guide us through life and to intercede our prayers and all of these things. And yeah, I guess like it's just a curiosity that came through when you said intuition, because I'm like, is that new age? Like, is that, and I'm just genuinely curious. Like, I don't know. It's something that maybe I'll pray on and just sit with and read a little. I feel like sometimes like I'll ask these questions and then it like is presented to me in the Bible,
Mm.
and then like I have clarity on it. But yeah, it's just something that came through of like, is that new age? Like, but I
Interesting.
do also agree. I think about birth of like there's an instinct with birth. I think the presence of God is there when a woman's birthing, but there's something instinctual about it. I think there
Yeah, there's something instinctual to
mm,
like procreate, you know.
yeah.
I guess maybe the bigger question would be, is there a difference, like, what is the difference between intuition and an instinct,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Because I've also been like, I've been listening to a few different podcasts, and this is like going totally off topic, but I've been listening to a few different podcasts And there's one that I really like, and it's like on business, like kingdom building business. I've had to reprogram money and business and all those things in accordance with God too. And they talk about like your mind's eye, like they say like in my mind's eye, but that's in the Bible of like in your mind's eye you see a vision, like you'll see the vision. But like visioning has been hijacked by the new age of like, and that's something I've been bringing back in is like I read in the last podcast that we did about like setting the plan and the vision, like casting that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's been hijacked by new age and like vision boarding and so meditating too, like we're supposed to meditate on the word of God. We should meditate affirmations. We should affirm our mindset through biblical affirmations, affirming what we read in the Bible
Mm-hmm.
and how God tells us who we are. That's the best way.
Mm.
And that's something that I've been practicing, but it's like I just have had to reorient myself with a lot of it. And I think I want to be really intentional and mindful with it of just like making sure I blurred the lines for a long time. And that's one thing I
Mm.
don't want to do anymore. So, yeah, it was just, I'll pray on it and let you guys know. I'll come back. Um,
Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
yeah, pray on it. So, yeah, I feel like this is really good. Anything you want to add on like parenting and just, I'm excited because I feel like our next baby is going to be a boy.
Mm.
I feel like that's going to be a different experience.
Totally.
If it's a girl, that would be amazing too. I'm not like, I honestly don't care. I just want a baby at this point, but I do feel like it's going to be a boy,
Yeah.
and that'll probably be a whole different experience, and it'll probably have a completely different personality, and we'll have to learn new things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Definitely come with a
um,
new set of challenges for sure.
and we're also like not parenting coaches or experts. We're just
No, not by any
I
means.
always like, I don't know, ask us in 20 years and we'll see where she's at and what she's doing and then we'll tell you if it's
Yeah.
if it's worked. I also like I know people that are older and they've raised multiple kids and I always look at like people like who have good relationships with their children. Like that's one thing I look to is like I
Yes.
want to learn from these. So I still have a lot of questions, but I really watch people that have grown children and they have good relationships with these children and it genuinely seems like their children are thriving, their children have their own families, they're just confident and healthy, and that's who I take advice from. Like I want to know how your children. It's crazy. This might be a part two, but I have recently have been asked questions about like Montessori. If you read a lot of these feminist books and understanding these women in motherhood and like their upbringings and like these people that have like deeply into influenced children's education and culture, that's very fascinating to study because we should judge a fruit by the or we should judge a tree by the fruit it bears. And when you understand how these people were with their children, you're like, ooh, why have we created a whole society on their belief system?
Mm.
I don't know. I question that. Maybe a part two.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I say just keep your kids close. Keep your kids close to the hip.
Oh yeah, people will get so mad at that. They won't get so mad at people will be like, no, they should be independent. Actually, the closer
Yeah,
you keep your kids, the
I'll
more
teach my kid
independent they
independence by sticking close to me. We're both independent people, It's not like we're sovereign. We don't have people taking care of us or looking after us.
No, actually, if
Um,
you look at just attachment styles, if you understand attachment, the best thing that you could do is keep your kids close. It actually teaches them that they're safe. It's
yeah,
why our child still sleeps in our bedroom
yeah,
90% of the time.
yeah. No, I think it's we're taught to like hustle the kids out of the house, man, and
Mm-hmm.
get them to fly the nest as soon as possible. But I would also say, kind of off topic, but still kind of tied in. I think we're one of the only countries in the world that like stick our parents in nursing homes when it's time for their time to go,
Mm-hmm.
versus like
Take,
moving them back in with us and taking care of them.
yeah.
And I think that kind of speaks to a little bit of what we're talking about. Um,
Yeah, the whole family unit has been shattered.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, and no, we'll keep our children
Yeah.
close to us, close to God,
Mm-hmm.
and that's our job as parents, to provide them with all of those skills. And yeah, we'll do so by keeping our kids close to us.
I love it.
Yeah.
This was a good one.
That it?
That's it.
All right. Until next time.
Goodbye.
Ciao.